Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute basics of process management charts, specifically tailored for beginners. If you've been looking to finally organize that manufacturing floor of yours, bring some much-needed clarity to your team, and honestly just get a firm grip on your production timelines, well, the source material we're digging into today is literally the perfect starting point. So let's unpack this beginner's blueprint together, shall we? But first, I've got to ask you a very real question. Are bottlenecks constantly derailing your manufacturing deadlines? Look, we all know that horrible sinking feeling of chaos when operations just totally lack visibility. You're trying desperately to hit a production quota, but for some reason, machinery is just sitting that idle, workers are standing around waiting on parts, and nobody on the floor actually knows where the delay is coming from. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Well, the good news is, according to the materials we're reviewing, you're definitely not alone in this struggle, and there is a highly systematic way out of it. And that brings us to the hero of our story today, the process management chart. Based on our source, this is basically a visual tool that translates those massive, complex production plans into a highly clear, easy-to-read workflow. Just think about the contrast here. Instead of a messy whiteboard covered in peeling sticky notes or, a confusing group text full of mixed updates, you get a single source of truth. And why does this matter so much? Simply because the human brain processes visual information significantly faster than endless lists of numbers or text. By converting your schedule into a visual format, you can immediately identify your overall progress, spot those dangerous delays way before they cause a crisis, and pinpoint exactly where those pesky bottlenecks are hiding. It completely takes the guesswork out of manufacturing. To get you set up for success, our source outlines a clear 5-part roadmap. We're going to cover taming the manufacturing chaos, choosing your chart type, 5 steps to creation, rules for chart success, and finally, looking beyond the spreadsheet. All right, let's jump right into section 1, taming the chaos and fixing opaque workflows. So, before we build any tools, we really have to understand the stakes of poor management on the factory floor. Operating without a visual chart leads directly to what our source calls opaque workflows. And honestly, the costs of this are just devastating to a business. It creates this rapid domino effect. It starts out simple enough, right? Team A doesn't know that Team B is running behind. That lack of visibility creates poor team coordination. And because they aren't synced up, overall productivity just drops. Then, as teams inevitably rush to catch up and compensate for that lost time, you see a sharp dip in product quality. That drop in quality and coordination leads straight into missed delivery deadlines. And ultimately, the final domino falls: lowered customer satisfaction, and seriously damaged client relationships. If your floor doesn't know the plan, the entire system is at risk. Moving on to section 2, choosing your chart type. We'll be looking at Gantt versus bar charts. Okay, so how do we actually fix this transparency issue? Well, when organizing your workflow in an accessible tool like Excel, the source material points out 2 main weapons you have at your disposal as a beginner. On the left, we've got the classic Gantt chart. This tracks overall progress percentages and task owners. It is absolutely fantastic for spotting delays at a single glance. But if a massive schedule shift happens, modifying all those dependencies manually can be, well, extremely tedious. On the right, we have the bar chart. This one focuses heavily on tracking specific start and finish dates, mapping out durations in exact days, weeks, or months. It's brilliant for strict, time-based management, but it kind of falls short when you have complex, overlapping task linkages. Ultimately, you really have to evaluate what your specific operation needs to measure most closely. Next up, section 3, the 5 steps to creation and building your blueprint. Once you've picked your chart type, getting this up and running in Excel really doesn't have to be overwhelming. The source material outlines a super clear 1 to 5 sequence for beginners. Step 1, break down your tasks into manageable pieces. This is critical. Broad goals simply cannot be measured efficiently. Step 2, set your time frame. You need to decide right up front if tracking by days, weeks, or months makes the most sense for your cycle. Step 3, assign clear owners to every single task. Without explicit ownership, accountability vanishes and things just slip through the cracks. Step 4, go to Microsoft's website and download a free template. Seriously, there is absolutely no need to reinvent the wheel here. And finally, step 5, input your data and utilize color coding to make those visual relationships pop out instantly. Let's actually look at what breaking down tasks looks like in the real world, using a food processing plant as an example. So you might have a broad parent task like ingredient intake, but come on, that is way too vague to manage on a busy factory floor. You absolutely must break it into smaller, actionable child tasks like receiving inspection, pre-processing, cutting, and prep. The same logic applies to the parent task of cooking, which becomes forming and heating. If you don't slice the work into highly specific, bite-sized pieces like this, you can't assign them, and you certainly cannot measure them accurately on your brand new chart. Now, when we reach that step of assigning owners, there is a massive trap you need to watch out for. I want to highlight this direct quote from our source material. Avoid assigning too much to one person. Uneven workloads lead to process siloing where everything stops if they are absent. This is such a critical warning. Relying entirely on one key employee to shepherd multiple complex tasks creates a dangerous single point of failure. I mean, if that person takes a well-deserved vacation or calls in sick, your entire manufacturing line comes to a screeching halt because all that vital knowledge is siloed with them. You absolutely have to distribute the load across the team.
That brings us to Section 4, Rules for Success and Maintaining Your Chart.
All right, so you've built a functional chart. Awesome. But how do you keep it alive? The material outlines some rapid-fire best practices to ensure it doesn't just degrade into a mess over time. First off, avoid heavy technical jargon. A brand new hire on the floor should be able to just glance at it and immediately understand the status. Second, accurately segment your tasks so you don't accidentally assign the exact same machine to two different jobs at the exact same time. Third, and guys, this is a classic beginner mistake, store the file in a shared cloud drive, never on a local PC. If the master schedule is trapped on one manager's laptop, it's completely inaccessible and therefore useless to everyone else. Finally, appoint one specific person to manage updates. If everyone edits it at once, you're going to end up with the nightmare of 10 conflicting spreadsheets circulating the office. As you maintain this document, you need to pay very close attention to its behavior over time. If schedules constantly overlap or contradict in your spreadsheet, it's not just an annoying formatting issue, it's a massive red flag. Translating a messy spreadsheet into physical reality means your resources are actually overloaded on the floor, and those tasks must be broken down further to reflect what's really happening. A disorganized, impossible-to-read chart usually indicates a deeper operational flaw in your facility that requires your immediate management intervention.
And finally, Section 5, Beyond the Spreadsheet and Scaling Your Operations.
Look, Excel is an incredibly accessible, fantastic starting point for beginners learning process management. But the source material is very clear that we have to acknowledge its limits. As your operations scale up and factory complexity grows, Excel eventually hits a hard wall. Processing speeds can drop drastically with massive amounts of historical data. But even more importantly, maintaining the schedule becomes dangerously reliant on manual human input. And in a chaotic environment where there's constant, complex manual data entry happening, catastrophic human error isn't just possible, it's practically inevitable.
And that is exactly where the material points toward the ultimate evolution of process management, production schedulers. These are dedicated, automated software systems. The source specifically highlights tools like Asprova as a prime example of this technology. These systems instantly calculate and optimize equipment, personnel, and materials, all at once. They can plan your production down to the exact minute and second, completely solving Excel's weaknesses by automating all that heavy mathematical lifting and totally removing the risk of manual data entry errors.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought to consider. Is your operation ready to graduate from Excel to a dedicated production scheduler? Take a hard, honest look at your current scale. If you're spending more time fixing broken spreadsheet formulas and trying to untangle overlapping schedules than you are actually optimizing your manufacturing floor, well, it might just be time to embrace automation. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this material, and good luck mastering those processes.